we continue in our One Another series. We'll be looking this evening at one that as I went through, I found this several times, as I went through and pulled up and did a word search. I found several things that I looked at first and I thought, well, I probably won't teach on this, but I'll put it on the list and we'll come back to it and study and see what God leads me to do. And so I come back to them and I figure out pretty quickly, no, I think that's a good, there's some good stuff in this thought. And the idea we're going to look at tonight is that of hospitality one to another. And as you think about hospitality, we think about it in a Western idea of being hospitable, being providing someone that come into our home. But really, especially today, we've kind of gotten to the point where our hospitality is not really expressed very often. When people come to our house, we're nice to them, right? We're friendly to folks. But how often do we extend hospitality? How often is hospitality just out there for people? Probably not very often. It's probably something we've gotten more and more reclusive in our society. I mean, have we not? I can remember times when about every Friday night or so you were at somebody's house, you were doing something, you saw people, and pretty much now we go to work and we come home. And we may go a couple weeks, we may go a month without having people that aren't kin to us in our home. How often do we go without people that are not kin to us in our home? And I'm not even talking about kin like cousins. I'm talking about it may be our kids. That may be the only people that are really ever come to our house. And is that really what we should be? Well, if you look at 1 Peter, we're going to look at a couple. We may get to two of the one another tonight. We may not. We'll see. 1 Peter chapter 4. Peter's kind of giving his quick thoughts on some things, as Paul sometimes does. But Peter uses, in 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 9, he says, use hospitality one to another without grudging. Now he's just also right above it talked about charity, which we know in the King James, charity is love. So we go back to our very first one another that we talked about was love. Well, love for one another leads to hospitality. Now, this is an important concept. We have to look at the idea of hospitality in the first century when this was written. It was considered totally unacceptable for somebody, even a stranger, to come into town and you have knowledge of that and you not be hospitable to them. Provide them some food. I mean, if they were traveling, I know think about in Jerusalem, when people would come in to Jerusalem for the feasts, and there would be, hundreds of thousands of people in Jerusalem. They didn't have Holiday Inns, and they were sure there were inns, but I think very seriously there was enough to allow all those people a place to stay. So you opened your house. Now, I'm not suggesting that we start inviting total strangers into our home. Today's a little dangerous times. It's very difficult to do that. But I am saying that hospitality, as was referred to here, was something that was an extension. It could be inconvenient to be hospitable in the first century. It could be a stretch. You might have to do something to be hospitable. But yet here Peter's telling us to extend hospitality without complaining, without being grudgingly, to do it willingly. So I think we have to take that and we have to understand that, yes, hospitality to strangers, to folks who don't know, is something that Christians have always been known for, to be giving of themselves. Even to the point of hurting, being painful, of being a stretch. Do we have that kind of hospitality? Do we stretch ourselves to help people? Go out of our way, we might say, to make ourselves available to folks we don't even know. Well, people, it is very easy today to not do that. As a matter of fact, it is very uncommon for even God's people to do that. But yet it is still a command. It is still a command that we are to practice hospitality. That's how people know there's something different about us. But not just hospitality to strangers. Let's talk about hospitality inside our membership. One to another, Peter is talking about his main focus. While it is common practice for them to be hospitable to strangers, he's talking about to one another in the church. So as we apply this as a one another in the church, how are we hospitable to our brothers and sisters in Christ? See, there should be such a love for one another that we want to spend time with one another. We want to be there. We want to, because can you really love somebody if you don't see them? I mean, we've talked about love. Love is not just an expression, oh, I love you. If I don't see you, if I don't act upon that, then do I really love you? We love is an action verb. Love is something that we have to do something, and hospitality is one of the ways that we do that. I know that I listen to y'all when you talk. And I listen to what, sometimes you might call it eavesdropping. Okay, I'm eavesdropping. If you don't want people to know, then don't say it in church. But when you're talking, I like to hear that you went and visited somebody. I like to hear that you spent some time with other people of our church. And I've never understood it. I mean, I've read all these things, but I never really thought about it, why that makes me happy. Why I get joy from you people spending time with each other. And then it's kind of dawned on me as I was studying this that, the reason is because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to spend time with each other, not just on Sunday, and not just in our fellowship meetings that we have, although we should do that. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But we should spend time in each other's homes. How many of the people around here's homes have you been in? How many have you spent time in their home? So what I did 20 years ago, is that really fellowshipping if we don't spend time in each other's homes? Well, Scott, I'm kind of a reserved person. I don't really like people. Why are we that way? If we love people, we should want to spend time with them. The reason we don't is because we're selfish. Let's just be honest with you. I'm selfish with my time. Let's just be totally, that's the truth, isn't it? I want my time when I get home. I've worked a hard day at home. I don't want to mess with getting ready. That's what we say, right? I don't want to, it's inconvenient at times. But if we're going to be real Christians, if we're going to be really Christ-like, Christ went to people. Matter of fact, he invited himself to other people's homes, didn't he? You ever heard of Zacchaeus, right? Zacchaeus, come down. Why? Because I'm going to your house today. I don't suggest we do that. Hey, Brother Lyles, I'm going to your house today. I mean, I'm not suggesting we do that, but I am suggesting that being a Christian involves fellowship. It's an important part of our relationship with each other. And you can't have a relationship if you don't spend one-on-one time with those people. Well, Scott, you just don't understand. I'm just so busy. We're going and no, I understand. I got it. I mean, I've had kids. I've done all that. But I've also come to the conclusion that maybe we're just too busy. Maybe we're just too busy. Because I tell you, we do find time for the things we want to do. When your favorite TV show comes on, you find time for it, don't you? I'm going to watch it. We find time for the things that we love. If we love one another, we'll find time for one another. And that's important because when we need support, who do we go to? Well, I mean, when we need support. You don't have bad times? You don't have difficulties? I do. I have difficulties. And I've got some good Christian brothers and sisters I can call. I can talk to. I've got folks that I can rely on. Who are your closest friends? Are they Christians? Who do you spend the most time around? Are they God's people? They should be. Now I want to take just a second to say that we all should have some lost friends. And I was kind of, when first time I heard that statement and it put that way, Brother Roger Copeland said, we all have to have lost friends, because what are we supposed to do? We all say we use lifestyle evangelism, right? We want to talk about lifestyle evangelism. Well, who do you evangelize to? Do you know any lost people? Do you spend time around lost people? If you don't spend time around lost people where you can actually talk to them and carry on conversation, let them see how you are, then you're not lifestyle evangelizing. You're not doing anything. And so we need a few friends, a few people that we know that need Christ. And we need to be living Christ in front of those friends. But now they should not be the people we hang around all the time. There should be some people we hang around that we have friends here in the church. That's what builds a church closer, stronger. Builds those ties. Ties us together, because not only do we know each other in the pews, not only do we know each other in Sunday school, maybe on our fellowship nights, but we know each other on a more intimate level. Now, it is important that we're going to have people in the church that you're going to like better than others. That's just how it works. And that's okay. But we should not neglect those that maybe we don't have quite as good a relationship with. Maybe we need to get to know them better. Maybe if we got to know them better, we like them better. Maybe there's something more to them. They're just a little harder to get to know. We've all met those people, right? You first meet them, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't think they even care for me whatsoever. But you get to know them better, and you realize they're a lot more friendly, and you do actually like them. We have to be careful not to be cliquish in the church. We should love everybody, but there's going to be some folks you'll gravitate to more than others. That's just how it works. And that's okay. We just spread that hospitality out. Because when it comes time and we need something from each other, we're going to go to our friends first, the ones we're closest to, right? When we need a shoulder to cry on, we don't go to complete strangers, do we? We shouldn't. We should have people in this church that we can cry on their shoulder, that we can share with them our struggles. Instead of trying to hide, because this is what oftentimes happens. I don't want you in my house because you might see I'm not perfect. I don't want you to get to know me because you might see that I've got problems that I don't have right just yet. Well, let me inform everybody, and I tell you this, I informed you before, I know that you're not perfect. And if you don't know the other person in here is not perfect, let me tell you, nobody has it down. Everybody's got problems, everybody's got struggles, everybody sins. I do too. You're not hiding anything. All you're doing is handicapping yourself by not having those close friends. Because my kids would go out and they would go and hang out with their friends. I always told them, make sure you pick good Christian friends. Because it's easier to be a good Christian around other good Christians. It's easier to do right around people that are doing right. When you have those influences in your life, personally, in your home, you go to their home, they go to your home. You have that, then you go out and do something. You go out and you as a kid say, we're going to go out and hang out, or whatever it is that you're going to do, play cards, invite people over, have dinner, and play a board game. Do we do that anymore? Do we do those kind of things? Maybe we should. Maybe we should. Now you say, Scott, what does this have to do with anything about being a Christian, about being in church? If being a Christian is simply something you do on Sunday, then you are not a Christian. If being around God's people, you're happy, I'm totally happy just to see them on Sunday, then you don't have that love that the Holy Spirit puts in your heart for your brothers and sisters. If that is all you need is Sunday or Wednesday night, then that's not Christ-like. Christ was in people's lives every day. There were people that followed him around. He went to people's houses. He fellowshiped with them. Because that's what he did. He wanted to be involved in our lives. And we should want to be involved in others' Christians' lives. I'm not talking about being nosy. I'm talking about really loving, really caring, being there so that we can do something that people will know. Because I want to be, when something goes, I want to be not just your pastor, I want to be your friend. So that when something goes wrong, you don't know, well, I don't know if I need to call him about this. I want you, the first person you think, call Brother Scott. Call Scott. Listen, I don't talk to him. Not because I'm your preacher, but because I'm your friend. And we should all have that desire that if somebody needs something, I don't want them to think, well, can I call them? How many of you got a good friend? You got good friends? I got good friends. And I don't even hesitate. I don't even hesitate calling my good friends. How did you come help me? And they don't hesitate calling me. Do we have those friends in the church? Why don't we? Why aren't we each other's best friends? We were not created to be alone. Whoops, I'm married, I'm not alone. Even as a couple, even as a family, you get off and isolate, and you don't have other friends and people that you interact with, you'll struggle. You will struggle. We are social creatures. God made us and created us that way. And we need to socialize with the right people. We need to go out and enjoy, because that builds the camaraderie in the church. That's what this is all about. These one another's is about building up better relationships inside this place. You know, when people come in this place and they visit it, you know what they're going to notice second is the spirit of the church. Even before they see our doctrine, even before they really know everything that we believe, they're going to see our love for one another, or they're going to see the lack thereof. And we can cultivate that and make that even better if we'll spend more time with each other. Now, we can do that in our homes, and we should do that. We should do that. As a matter of fact, I would recommend setting one night a month. One night a month, or every other week if you can spare it, and invite somebody over. And so we're going to just cook. And I don't care if you invite me back. I don't care. I'm going to be hospitable to my church members. Because when we do that, we're going to find that there's going to be a closer, more loving relationship right here. And all of a sudden, having people over won't be that big of a deal. Won't be that big of a problem. And we'll grow closer. And if we'll have somebody different over every once in a while, we may make new friends. And that's what this is about. Now, one other time that we should fellowship is when we have our fellowships in the church. I'm going to tell you, you're missing a great Fago game back there about every time we go. I mean, it gets downright competitive back there. It's a lot of fun. Got kids playing volleyball. We got folks throwing things at each other. I always think that's always a lot of fun, right? We're throwing things. And we have a good meal. We should be here. We should want to be here in our fellowships. It's important. That is something that we miss when we're not in God's house and in God's fellowship. Church is not just setting in services. We have gravitated to that idea. Satan has pushed us more and more and more to the idea that church is Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, that's church. And that's wrong. That's our services, that's our meetings, that's when we preach, we teach, we sing, we worship. but we also fellowship. And you can't do that here, in this setting right here. We do that when we have our fellowship meetings. And we show hospitality to one another. We learn, we meet, we talk with each other. I don't know about y'all, but I like it. I really enjoy it. And I think, matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that God blesses that time. Matter of fact, I think the Bible tells us He does. He blesses that time when we're gathered together. You know what? Even when we're in fellowship, sharing a meal, breaking bread, we're gathered together in His name, aren't we? And I think He's there with us. Even when we're just having a fellowship. Now, we can't fellowship all the time. There's some folks that want to carry it the other way, and that's all they ever do is a fellowship meeting. We need this too, but we don't need to neglect, because that's part of the hospitality. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't know about all this. I just don't know. It was written down. Not by me. I didn't come up with this, start coming up with this. I found that hospitality. What do you think hospitality means? It means being together, right? Being hospitable. A friendly, meeting each other's needs and spending time with each other. We've got to make sure that we do this. We've got to make sure that it's important to us. But we're doing it out of love for one another. And that's what we need to make sure that we always see in these one another's. It all revolves around love and humility. Every time, these one another's, our relationships with each other, that's what revolves around. I think if we'll take these and we'll really look and examine them and then apply them, we'll see the love and the spirit of this church grow. Even better than it already is. Even greater, because simply we did those things that God wants us to do.